I believe that everyone knows what anxiety is,
我相信大家都知道忧虑是什么。
and everyone have experienced anxiety in one way or another.
我们在人生中都曾经有经历过忧虑。
Anxiety, I guess you could say, is like a pandemic because sometimes when it comes, it spreads really quickly and out of control.
忧虑有时候也像是疫情一样，它只要一发生，就可以扩散得很快，很失控。
So as common as it is to experience anxiety or worry,
所以我们有忧虑和担心是一件常见的事。
when we experience it, however, it is one of the most counterproductive thing that we can do, which is to worry.
但是当我们忧虑的时候，最不该做的事情，也就是继续担心、忧虑这件事。
I've heard people describe worry or anxiety as like being on a rocking chair.
我听过人家形容忧虑就像是在做一个摇摇椅。
Because when you sit on a rocking chair, you need to rock it.
所以做摇摇椅的时候，你当然要前后摆动。
It won't rock by itself.
它自己本身并不会摇动。
So it basically gives you something to do.
当然，你做摇摇椅的时候，前后晃动就有事情可以做。
But it doesn't actually get you anywhere.
但是你并不会往前或往后。
Some have also said worry is like you trying to get away really quickly on a wooden horse.
有时候忧虑就像是你坐一个木马，很想要赶快往前行。
So as Christians, how do we face the problem of anxiety?
那我们身为基督徒，应该要如何面对忧虑呢？
Is there something that we can do about it?
我们有什么是我们可以做的吗？
But perhaps in order to know what we can do about it, we must first have a clear understanding of the problem.
在我们知道要如何面对忧虑之前，我们要先了解忧虑是什么。
So what is anxiety?
所以忧虑是什么呢？
In simple terms, anxiety is a distress or worry about future uncertainties.
忧虑就是你担心害怕将来所要发生的事。
So this anxiety, this stress, sorrow, or pain that you feel about what might happen tomorrow is more of a mental health issue and not a physical health problem.
所以这个忧虑这种不安的心情其实是比较是心理上的生病，而不是说生理上的生病。
Although sometimes mental health the anxiety, I should say specifically, could cause physical issues as a result.
有时候当然他很焦虑、忧虑的时候，当然会因为心理上的负担而带来生理上的不舒服。
So anxiety mainly has to do with the fear of what may happen tomorrow.
所以会忧虑的原因，就是因为害怕明天所将要发生的事。
What may happen in the future, whether it's near or distant future.
无论这个未来是明天还是更久以后。
So then what causes the anxiety itself?
那是什么原因可以导致我们会忧虑
？So anxiety is often caused by real threats to our well-being.
所以我们会忧虑，是因为感受到我们生命受到了某一些威胁。
And sometimes these threats can also be something of our own imagination.
那有时候这些威胁是我们自己所想象出来的。
And during those situations, we would feel vulnerable or feel the feeling of not being protected against these threats.
在我们遇到这些事情的时候，会觉得很脆弱，没有受到保护。
These threats could be things like social rejection.
也许是在社会上被人拒绝。
Physical injury or physical illness.
也许是你的身体受了伤或生病了。
The threats could be poverty or death.
也许是与家人或亲友分离，因为死亡而分离。
So there's other different types of threats as well, of course.
当然还有其他各种不同的威胁。
But I think that anxiety has three main elements.
但是我认为忧虑有三种不同的方面。
One is insecurity.
第一个就是不安。
So feeling like something bad is going to happen tomorrow.
所以一直忧虑明天会发生坏的事。
The second element would be helplessness.
第二个就是感到无助。
That is the feeling where there's nothing I can do.
就是我完全无法做任何的事。
And the third element is isolation.
第三个就是被孤立。
So that is the feeling that there's no one out there to help us or understand us.
就是认为说这世上都没有任何的人可以帮助我们或了解我们。
So regardless of whether you have one of these or various combination of these three elements.
所以无论我们有一方面或是各个方面都有。
They would probably cause just as much anxiety emotionally to anyone, whether it be imagined or real.
所产生的不管是想象或是真的，这些所产生的都是忧虑。
So I think that we will start to see that anxiety is basically a form of fear.
所以我们可以知道说，忧虑其实就是一种恐惧。
And we must recognize it as a type of fear.
那我们必须要认知说，这就是一种恐惧。
It is important to recognize it as a fear because with this understanding of the problem, then we can have a closer step to overcoming it.
我们要认知说这是一种恐惧，这样子才能接下来才能去面对以及克服。
So how do we overcome this problem?
那我们要怎么克服这个问题呢
I think the obvious answer that everybody knows is to trust in God, which is obviously again something we know but hard to carry out.
当然，我们都知道的答案就是要依靠神，但是却很难实际去做出来。
I'm sure we have heard many times from our elders or our mentors that the best remedy to fix a problem or dealing with a problem is to address the actual source of the problem.
所以，我们的长辈和导师都有跟我们说过，要面对忧虑最好的方法就是找到它的源头，
And not just the symptoms of the problem.
而不是只有看到症状。
So, for example, painkillers like Advil, Tylenol, these are medication that's good for treating symptoms.
例如说，止痛药这些药物都是可以来控制一些症状，
But they don't actually get rid of the actual problem that's causing your headaches or whatever.
但是它却不会真正的治疗你疼痛的根本。
Another example might be you see two people or two siblings arguing.
另外一个例子就是有兄弟姐妹在争吵。
So we may treat the symptoms by just separating the two persons apart
所
for
以
a while.
我们如果要治疗这个症状，就是把这两个兄弟姐妹分开。
However, the root cause of the argument is not resolved.
但是它根本的问题并没有被解决。
So we said that earlier that the three main elements of anxiety is insecurity, helplessness, and isolation.
所以我们刚刚提过，忧虑的三大面向就是不安、无助以及孤立。
So as Christians or children of God, then we need to find the truth about these, truth in the Bible about these three elements.
那我们要在圣经里面找到关于这三个面向的真理，因为我们是神的孩子。
So how can we trust in God in these three causes of anxiety?
在这三种原因上面，我们要如何一一的来依靠神呢？
First, we can turn to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 21.
我们第一个先翻开箴言第3章21节。
Because of time, I may not read all the passages, but we can just quickly read through some of these.
因为时间的关系，我们就快的念过。
Proverbs 3, verse 21.
箴言3章21节。
My son, let them not depart from your eyes. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, so they will be life to your soul and grace to your neck. Verse 23.
23
Then you
节。
will walk safely in your way, and your foot will not stumble. Verse 24.
24节
When you lie down, you will not be afraid. Yes, you will lie down, and your sleep will be sweet. 25.
25节
Do not be afraid of sudden terror, nor of trouble from the wicked when it comes. 26.
26节
For the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being caught. So this passage tells us that our security can rest with God.
这段经节告诉我们要依靠神就有平安。
He protects us, and with Him on our side, no one can harm us.
神会与我们同在，他会保护我们，没有任何人可以伤害我们。
We also know that God tells us in the Bible, for example, in Matthew chapter 10, verse 31, to not fear because you are of more value than the sparrows.
另外还有经节在马太福音10章31节说，不要惧怕，因为你们比麻雀还要更贵重、更宝贵。
So we need to trust in these words.
所以我们要相信神的话。
But of course, the trust doesn't happen overnight, of course.
当然，这个相信并不是一夜之间就可以达到的。
But this is something that we would actually pray for in our daily prayers.
而是我们要在我们日常的祷告中来祈求的。
So not pray so that nothing bad happens to us.
我们祷告中并不是求神不要让任何的坏事发生在我们身上。
But rather pray that we have trust in Him when bad things do happen to us.
而是要祷告，让坏事发生在我们身上的时候，让我们懂得依靠神。
And when we have this sound wisdom, as this passage tells us, then we will receive peace of mind through our prayers.
当我们像这个经节跟我们讲的有正确的智慧的时候，我们就会有平安。
The second element is where we talked about is helplessness.
第二个面向就是感到无助。
Perhaps in times of trouble, we may feel like there's nothing we can do.
也许我们遇到困难的时候，我们时常觉得很无助。
But in reality, we do have a helper.
但是我们确实有一个帮助我们的人。
In fact, we have a great helper.
其实我们的帮助是非常强大的。
And we can also just quickly read Psalms 27.
我们可以读诗篇的27篇。
Psalms 27, verse 5.
诗篇27篇第5节。
Psalm 27, verse 5 says, For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret place of his tabernacle, he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. So do we trust God that he will do all this for us?
所以我们相信神会为我们做这些事吗？
Sometimes we're unable to trust God. It's not because we don't know that he can help us or not.
有时候我们不相信神，是因为我们不知道神可以帮助我们。
But rather we doubt whether or not our sin or our wrongdoings or whether we deserve the help from God.
我们有时候会怀疑，会因为我们的罪而觉得神会不会来帮助我们？我们配不配得他的帮助？
Yeah, or simply put that we feel that we don't live up to his expectations.
或者觉得我们并没有达到神对我们的期待。
If this is the case, then we need to really be honest with ourselves.
如果这样的话，我们要对自己很诚实。
We need to ask ourselves, why is it that we cannot change to be better aligned with what God requires of us?
那我们要问自己，为什么我们无法改变自己，让我们可以跟神更亲近
？The third element I would say is closely related to the second one, which is the isolation.
第三个也是很有关联的，就是被孤立的感觉。
Which is again is a feeling that no one is out there to help us or understand us.
所以当你感受到孤单的时候，会认为都没有人可以帮助我们。
But in reality, there is someone, and I know that you know that who this someone is.
事实上确实有这个帮助的，而且我相信你们也都知道这帮助是谁。
And I'm sure that you can also think of several different verses in the Bible where God tells us that He is always there by our side.
我们也会知道，从圣经有很多的经节也都告诉我们，神永远都在我们的身边。
One of the favorite verses that I know of it is in Hebrews chapter 13, which verse 5 and 6, which tells us that what can man do to me with God by our side and with God as our helper.
我最喜欢的其中一段经节就是在希伯来书13章第5、第6节，说主是帮助我的，我必不惧怕，人能把我怎么样呢？
Of course, there's no time to go into details, but we can certainly ponder about these things in our prayers.
我们没有时间来讨论细节，可是我们可以慢慢的去思考这些经节。
So the first thing that we can start to try and overcome these anxiety is to trust in God in these things, in these ways.
我们第一步就是可以克服忧虑的方法，就是能够来学习这些道理。
And the second way, they start helping us to get closer, and I'll just quickly list through some of the more practical ways that we can try and be closer in overcoming the problem of anxiety.
有第二种方法是比较实际的方法，可以来克服我们的忧虑。
And I believe these are more of a reminder than anything else, because I think we all know the answers to these.
这些其实也是提醒，因为我们都已经知道这些事了。
So, for example, the first practical way we can do is actually read the Bible.
所以第一个实际的方法就是读圣经。
So, needless to say that we need to be familiar with the Bible in order to know how God can help us.
我们一定要熟悉聖經，才能知道神會如何幫助我們。
And to be familiar with it, obviously, is going through Bible reading or Bible study, seminars, service, and so on.
要熟悉聖經的方法就是多讀經，多參加聖經研討，還有
and so on, and others.
就是還有其他的多聚會。
The less contact and the less familiarity we have with the Bible, the more anxiety we will feel.
那如果我們跟聖經都不熟的話，我們就會有更多的憂慮，就更多的不安。
Secondly, is to be realistic.
第二就是要實際一點。
I guess another way of saying it is to be realistic or be honest with ourselves.
就是要對自己誠實一點。
So the reality is the peace of mind does not come from our ability to solve all the problems in the world.
所以我们了解说，我们心里的平安并不是靠我们自己的能力解决问题的能力而来的。
It doesn't depend on us correcting all the wrongs.
不是在于我们自己用什么方法来解决所有的错误。
And it doesn't depend on removing all the imperfections or getting all that we want.
也不是把所有的不完美的东西都去除掉就好。
In reality, some things just will not change.
因为在事实上这些就是不会改变的。
And we just need to be realistic and accept that there are problems.
那我们就是要对自己诚实，要接受说我们是有问题的。
That these sometimes there is no real solutions to these problems.
就是有一些问题也是没有办法解决的。
So when we have these kind of realistic view of our limitations,
如果我们自己可以很诚实的知道自己限制在哪里
right? And then we will become a little bit more relaxed and slow down.
那我们就会放松一点，放慢一点。
Thirdly is to be flexible.
第三就是要有弹性。
We can see that change is inevitable. Everything changes with time.
所以改变就是不可避免的事。
So this means that we have to be resilient. We have to be adaptable. We have to be adjustable.
我们就是要有韧性，有弹性，可以处理各种的事情。
We need to have the ability to withstand and recover quickly.
要可以接受所有
that we're able to withstand, the difficulties and withstand the change and then recover quickly from it.
那我们就是可以承受这些困难，而且可以适应这些改变。
So in Philippians chapter 4, it tells us tell us to be content in whatever state we're in.
所以腓立比书第4章才会告诉我们要知道如何处在任何的境况。
Learn to be both full and to be hungry.
我们要知道怎么丰富与富足，以及饱足或饥饿。
both to abound and also to suffer need.
在有丰富的时候和有缺乏的时候，都知道怎么自处。
So let us be flexible.
所以让我们成为有弹性的人。
Another practical step is to focus on the good cares.
那让我们忧虑的事情是好的方面。
When I say the good kind of care, is like when you care for someone, care for one another, or care for the church.
当你担心的事情可以是好的，比如说为弟兄姐妹来担心，以及为教会的事来忧虑。
The bad kind of cares would be the cares of this world.
那当然也有不好的忧虑，就是这世上的烦恼。
Caring for riches, caring for pleasure, caring for enjoyment of this world.
你在忧虑你的享受，你忧虑你的钱财。
So if we have the right kind of cares, this will also lessen our anxiety.
所以当我们忧虑的事情是对的时候，也会让不安的情绪更降低。
When we care about the right things.
当我们所忧虑的事情是对的时候。
The first step is to the fifth practical step I can think of is to live one day at a time.
第五个实际的方法就是一天的忧虑就一天就一天就足够了。
Proper use of today will help us diminish the anxiety of tomorrow.
那今天如果做得好，我们明天的忧虑就会减少。
We all know that the Bible tells us not to worry about tomorrow, as the hymn we just sang.
那我们刚刚赞美诗还有圣经也告诉我们不要忧虑明天的事。
But it will only anxiety worrying about tomorrow will only cause us to lose strength and energy for things that we have to do today.
那忧虑明天的事会让我们没有力气来做今天该做的事。
There's a famous quote that says, "Worry is the interest paid on trouble before it falls due." I'm not sure how to translate that, but basically it's saying that before the trouble happens, you are already paying the interest for it.
有一句话就是说，你还困难还没有发生就开始忧虑的话，你就已经先付出代价了。
A lot of the worries that, as it turns out, is not really a worry at all.
因为很多的烦恼其实到头来并不是真的烦恼。
So even though there is trouble, worrying does not remove that trouble.
所以虽然有很多的烦恼，可是我们是可以解除他们的。
So focusing on what we can do today, rather than what we can do tomorrow, will really help us to learn how to live one day at a time and lessen our anxiety.
所以我们要把握在专注在今天的问题，而不是去想明天的忧虑，可以帮助我们一天过一天。
And the last step, I'm sure you have others that you can think of, but it's really to be content.
当然还有其他的方法，就是要知足。
Be able to rejoice in the Lord and count the blessings that we have today.
要在主里面来数算我们的恩典。
So in our prayer, let us just ponder about these few things.
所以在我们祷告中，让我们来思考这几件事。
So as children of God, we are given the means and the ways to deal with anxiety.
所以我们身为神的孩子，我们有方法可以来面对忧虑。
We're told that peace comes through in our prayers.
我们知道说祷告中，我们就会得到平安。
We can gain confidence in dealing with problems by learning to trust in God.
我们如果学习如何倚靠神，我们就可以得到更多的信心。
And when we start to feel insecure or helplessness, isolation, let us remember those practical steps that we can take.
当我们感到不安或是无助或孤立的时候，我们要想到这些实际的方法来帮助我们。
So for the remaining 5 minutes, I would say 5 to 10 minutes, let's kneel down and pray together and ask God to really strengthen our faith and our spirit.
我们接下来的时间就跪下来祷告，求主来帮助让我们增强我们的信心。
Help us not to worry about tomorrow.
所以我们才不会担心明天发
Help
生什
us
么事。
to give us the strength and energy to face what we have to what we can do today.
求神赐给我们力量，让我们专心把今天的事情做好。
Let's also remember all the brothers and sisters that we have mentioned often that we need to pray for.
我们也继续为我们时常关心的弟兄姐妹来祷告。
Let's all kneel and pray
我
together.
们一起同心跪下祷告。